All right, Baldur's Gate enthusiasts, we're going to explore some stealth tactica here. And as always with this vlog, pushing up some Baldur's Gate ideas to the playlist on my channel here, there will be no spoilers because so much of the game is about discovery and navigating these various puzzles as told through the encounters, the different monsters, the different NPCs found in the AD&D universe. And stealth is a very, very important key to that navigation. Now, it's not necessary. Of course, one of the great things about Baldur's Gate, playing through the saga, you can do it with any class, any combination. Stealth is not mandatory, but it does make certain things easier, and it does help with certain tactica, giving you more advantages. Those first couple of times, we explored this idea looking at different playthroughs, asking the question, just how many playthroughs will you get out of this game? And the first couple of playthroughs, even when you've encountered one of these encounter puzzles for the first time, not only are there multiple solutions, but they can be quite challenging. So stealth, a balanced party, the class of you, the primary character, you, plays an important role in how you're going to navigate that. So we divide Baldur's Gate, and the engine does an excellent job of translating the AD&D rules. But essentially, it's broken up. I approach it as being broken up into two categories, two perspectives. The first is a role-playing category, where obviously there's a story going on, and depending on your character, depending on the choices, depending on certain modifiers, you navigate that dialogue tree. You walk up, you talk to someone, there's options. It may open up a quest. It may offer a reward. It may just offer some background information about the game. So we have this role-playing perspective. We also see this in the party as the NPCs interact with each other, and often, depending on who you even have in the party, will open up certain places and dialogues. It's an important part of the game. It's very, very fun. But then we get to the tactica side. Essentially, Baldur's Gate is an AD&D skirmish game. And what I mean by that is there are numerous encounters. It's an action game. You're fighting various monsters, various NPCs, and for the most part, you are limited to a very, very small encounter map. We're not talking about, well, okay, maybe in one part, mass scale battles. It's the party versus encounters. So from that perspective, being able to navigate, fight, position, spells, combat is vital. And this is where stealth really starts to come in. Now, naturally, being a stat-type game, you're going to want to get your stealth as high as possible. You're going to dump your points into that. There are potions, there are items, there are abilities that are going to help increase your stealth stats. But at some point, for the most case, you keep piling stuff in, you get your gear. Like most role-playing games in a fixed setting, your stats are going to be so high, it's going to be that tipping point, much like pickpocket, where stealth just automatically begins to happen. Going through the rules, looking at some forums, I don't feel that I'm giving away any spoilers, but location is important too. If you're visible, stealth is going to be very, very hard, if not impossible. Of course, Shadow Dancer kind of negates that, and we pushed up Shadow Dancer to the playlist to explore it. And then based on the lighting and the actual effects, are you out in the open? Are you hidden? Are you next to a torch? Is there light coming in? Are you in a dark spot? Have you run around a corner and break line of sight, break combat? All those things play into stealth. We're going to condense it down because certainly you can read up about those and experiment yourself. And I want you to experiment yourself. We're going to break it down to stealth on or stealth off. So stealth on, the first thing, of course, is scouting. Before we even get to damage, often there'll be monsters, NPCs, encounters positioned in such a way that they're waiting for line of sight. That's kind of the trigger. Now, there's some instances where they're aware that you're there, and that might trigger it through spells as you move through. But being able to kind of have your party around the corner, if you're playing with a group or if you're soloing, and to be able to move up and accurately map an area, accurately see, okay, not only what's up here, but what are the ways to escape, or what are the ways that I can begin to move back if I need to have some distance between myself and the encounter. Stealth is awesome for that. It's very, very important for that. Now, as we jump into combat, of course, being a thief or exploring the Shadow Dancer using the AD&D rule sets or the modified, depending on what you're playing, the modifiers, the backstab damage, being able to not only get that first strike is very, very important, but first strike against certain targets. As you go through the game, wizards, rightly so, in AD&D, are very, very powerful. It's interesting to compare a wizard in AD&D compared to current 5th edition D&D, but that's outside of the scope of this vlog. Being able to get into position, not even as a wizard slayer, just being able to get into position next to / behind a wizard and first strike, that's huge, not only in hit point damage, but then you're there. So as they start to cast spells and you are attacking them, you are right there. There's a massive chance for spell interruption, not to mention that tactically, and it makes sense for the narrative, a wizard's going to have some bodyguards or other NPCs / encounter monsters up there to buffer you from traditionally approaching. Encounters where there's a party, you get to, or an opposing party, you get to figure out who you're going to attack first. So we have that first strike, we have that stealth. First strike is also very, very important because if I strip out the mechanics and look behind the scenes, strip out the role-playing, look behind the scenes, it's a resource management game. I have hit points, you have hit points. Whoever reaches 0 first gets taken out. So if I can hit you and do a reasonable amount of damage, 15, 20 points of damage, before combat starts, I'm initiating it, that is huge. That is really, really big. Now, also stealth, if we're going into multi-class, dual class, various options there, that brings in the ability possibly for a spell first strike or striking with different type of weapons and different options. There is a lot based on that. The second aspect of stealth is it's very, very excellent at area effect. If we're looking at Tactica, various magic items allow you to blow up areas with fireballs and explosions and different area effects to catch everybody, to be able to get in position. So as soon as an encounter sees you, their AI takes over. And sometimes it's to cast spells. Sometimes it's used to use ranged weapons. Sometimes it's to begin to move forward. So there are times tactically, right, reducing Baldur's Gate to a Tactica type game, where if I'm not stealth and I've got some sort of magic item or consumable, expendable to cast a fireball, and I move up, I click item, I click location, it takes a second to activate. That means some of the target might be moving forward. And if it doesn't kill them outright, which it's not always going to, depending on where we are in the chapter, then now they're engaging towards me. So to be able to kind of move up, position it perfectly, blast them, run away and hide, that's huge. Stealth opens up so many first strikes. Absolutely fantastic from that perspective. And then, of course, just plain old durability. Sometimes the dice work against you. Sometimes you take a lot of hits. Some of the encounters are very, very potent. The cleric can't be everywhere, and you're managing a party, or if you're playing solo, sometimes you just need to book it. Sometimes you just need to get out of there and break combat. So stealth combined with various speed and ways of moving to be able to run, hide, wait for the music to switch, wait for combat to switch, pop some healing potions, pop some buffs, then move back. That's very Tactica. That's very, very huge. And then, of course, playing into pickpocket. We'll leave that for the pickpocket vlog that I pushed up. Stealth makes the game, I won't say an auto win, but it is very potent. It is very powerful. And on that Tactica side of positioning, first strike, extra damage, dealing hit points before they deal it to you, and damage, stealth is a key Tactica. Whether you're going to utilize that yourself or as part of a party, bringing in party members to be able to navigate and push that stealth Tactica forward.